after I think more than 2 month period. It is lucky to see your very kind faces. But one thing very important, you want to keep in your mind, that is keep study throughout the corona period is very important. Please keep it in your mind. Okay, today according to the syllabus, my subject is micro and macroeconomics. So I have already sent and I have already attached all the documents except international trade. That is the last module of your syllabus. That is the last module of your syllabus. Today I am going to conduct the lecture on international trade. That is the last module of your syllabus. And I hope once the studies started, I mean ATI started, I have an idea to refresh your minds, recapitulate the things we learned during the classrooms lessons. That means before the corona impact. Right? So, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, right. So, I'm going to share I prepared little presentation on international trade. So, I'm going to share my screen. If anything unclear or if anything you need to make more clarify, don't hesitate to ask questions. Feel free to ask any questions. I welcome them all. Right. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Yes. Yes, this is. Yes. Can you see me? Okay.
Yes.
Good. Yes. Our topic is international trade. This is the third subject of your second semester. That means HNDA 1203. So my learning ladder is. So I hope to discuss at the beginning what is international trade. Then I hope to jump to the next very important part of this module. Theories of international trade, the trade barriers or the trade restrictions. I hope to conclude all 3 subtopics throughout this 2-hour period. Then what is foreign exchange? I'll be coming to that part later. Okay, the balance of payment and the concept of globalization and role of international financial institutions. Are you okay? Right? Okay. So I'm going to start my first topic. What is international trade? As you all know, okay, I'm going to ask a little question from you all. I'm going to ask a little question from you all. Have you heard about the period between 1977 to 1977 in Sri Lankan economic history? Have you heard? What sort of economic system was there? During that particular period, you might have heard many queues were there to buy. Even many queues were there to buy some different types of foods. For an example, if you go, if you wanted to buy a little, yes, if you want to buy one loaf of bread, so you had to go to the boutique early in the morning and to wait in the queue, because during that period some sort of closed economic system was there. We can't say it is a pure closed economic system, but during that period kind of barriers were there introduced by the prevailing government. But when you come to 1977 onwards, very 1977 onwards, there were many opportunities to engage in international trades. That means they had shifted from closed economy and entered to the new era of economy, open economy. Right. Okay, my question is, can we survive? Can we satisfy our all the needs and wants without others, without help of others? Answer is exactly no, because up to some extent we can satisfy our needs and wants by ourselves, but beyond that it is difficult to satisfy our needs and wants. So we have to get the support of others. If you apply this theory to international trade, okay, before that, before international trade, what could you say about domestic trade, the opposite term of the international trade? Dinakshi, are you there? Atik, how are you going to define domestic trade?
Domestic trade.
Atik?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The domestic trade means, so we do our trading activities. Within our geographical territories, within a particular country, where we have to deal with very definite economic policy introduced by that particular government. What else? And one currency is used for trade. Very unique tax system you have to deal with. That sort of characteristics are there in domestic trade. Okay, here you can see the domestic trade means the trade is taken place within the geographical territories of a nation. Right. It is very simple. It is not, there is no very tough logic behind this. Very simply we can say trade is taken place within the geographical territories of a nation or a country. Right? Where, as I said earlier, the traders have to follow the definite economic system. That means that existing government has introduced particular economic system for a throughout a certain time period. You can't go beyond that particular economic system. You have to adjust your trading activities accordingly. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. Then definite monetary system. If you are going for a domestic trade, you must deal with the local currency. If it is in Sri Lanka, so you have to deal with Sri Lankan rupees. If the domestic trade is taken place in India, that Indian citizens should use their domestic currency as Indian rupees. Right? Okay, and very unique policy on taxation and mobility of factors of production. What are the factors of production? There are 4 factors of production: land, labor, goods, capital, and entrepreneurship. Right. But here, if you can see my the shared screen,
Yeah.
you see that under the mobility of factors of production, there is a one thing, the missing term within the bracket. What it could be? What are the factors of production? Land, labor, capital, and efficiency. Right.
Yeah.
You can mobilize the labor.
Yes.
Right? You can mobilize capital. You can mobilize entrepreneurship, but you can't mobilize the land. You can't mobilize the land. So you should fill this the blank area, putting except land. Is it clear? Okay. So far we discussed what do we mean by domestic trade. Very simply, I'm going to repeat it again. The trading activities taken place within the country. Very simple. So I'm going to move to my second slide. I'm going to move my second slide. Then,
Yes, sir.
right. Then, if domestic trade is like this, what could you say about the international trade? Very simple. When we are doing our trading activities within the boundary of our nation, of our country, that is the trading domestic trade. But assume for a while you are a small scale businessman. Now you have enough or the sufficient capital to expand your business, because you are very highly succeed in domestic trade. Your aim is to spread your business into some other countries in our region. That means we are in Sri Lanka, so we are going to expand our business into Maldives. We are going to business into India. We are going to business we are going to business into Nepal, maybe. In that particular case, so I have to deal with, I have to go beyond, I have to expand my business horizons beyond my geographical territories. It means I'm going to expand my business into some other neighbor countries.
Neighbor countries.
Neighbor countries. Is it clear? So I'm going to define based on the clarifications. So I'm going to define what is international trade. It is very simply, we can say international trade means trading activities taken place between two different nations with different currencies. But as you all know, when we are dealing with international trade, globally accepted currency is American dollar.
Yes.
Yes, right. Okay, now you all have very clear-cut idea about what trade, then domestic trade and international trade. How domestic trade is distinguished from international trade. Is it clear? Okay. So I'm going to ask a question from you all. Why international trade is important for us? Can we survive? Can we produce all the goods and services that are needed to satisfy our needs and wants? Can you produce? There may be a possibility to produce all the goods and other things which are relevant to maintain our day-to-day life. But the thing is, you all have to be very keen on the resource endowment. What do you mean by resource endowment? In singular term, we call sampat himikaratwaya. Nathang sampat himikama. Availability of resources. Right. But it is that is very important to keep it in our mind. Is right. Okay, I'm going to discuss my next point. Okay, so the basis of international trade. Basis of international trade. In singular sense, singular meaning, අන්තර්ජාතික වෙළඳාමේ පදනම. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි කියනවා ජාත්‍යන්තර වෙළඳාමේ පදනම. නැත්නම් ජාත්‍යන්තර වෙළඳාම පසුබිම් වූ පදනම. Right. What could you say about the basis of international trade? What could you say? Right. Assume for a while. This is not a new thing. This is not rocket science. This is not rocket science. But before go to basis of international trade, I think it is better to discuss what are the basis of international trade. Sorry, what are the basis of domestic trade? What are the basis? Right. For an example, let's say domestic trade means within the country. Example, assume for a while there are 5-10 people in our country. Assume for a while their resource endowment is different from one to another. One individual may have different types of resources. Assume for a while five resources, very important 5 resources. But when it comes to Mr. B, the second individual, he may have another 2-3 things. That means there is a irregularity in අපි කියන අසමතුලිතතාවයක් නැත්නම් irregularity in the resource distribution among individuals. But the thing is, all of them try to do what? They are trying to maximize their earnings from their available resources. For an example, let's say I have land, I have capital, then I'm using my land, I'm trying to maximize my earnings. Right? I'm trying to maximize my earnings. What I'm going to do in that sense. So I have to use most efficient and effective methods to employ my resources to get very good factor income. එහෙම නැත්නම් මම කියනවා මගේ සතුව තියෙන වත්කම් මම උපරිම ආදායමක් එන විදිහට නැත්නම් උපරිම කාර්යක්ෂමතාවයක් සහ ඵලදායීතාවයක් ලැබෙන විදිහට සඵලදායීතාවයක් ලැබෙන විදිහට මම යොදවා ගන්නවා. ඒකෙන් මම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා ඉතා ඉහළ සාධක ආදායමක්. එතකොට සාධක කිව්වොත් අපි මා සතුව තියෙන භූමිය නම් මට ලැබෙන්නේ සාධක ආදායම් විදිහට බදු කුලිය. මා සතුව තියෙන්නේ qualified labor නැත්නම් වැඩි දියුණු කරපු මානව සම්පතක් නම් මට ලැබෙන්නේ
salary.
වැටුප්. ඔව් අතික්. Any questions? For the Pramod?
No, sir. No, sir.
Yes, tell me. Okay, I'm welcome you all again, and I hope to listen your questions. If you have any questions, please ask. Don't worry. Right. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, so back to track. Okay, I am going to discuss basis of international trade. Before that, I'm going to identify what are the basis of domestic trade. domestic trade. Domestic trade එකේදී අපි කතා කරන්නේ රට ඇතුලේ වෙන සිදුවන trade activities ගැන. We are going to, so domestic trade means the engaging the trading activities within a particular country, within a geographical region where individuals are there. Individuals may have their resource endowments is different from one to another, but everyone have a very definite idea. That means among the individuals, they are trying to maximize their earnings with the use of available resources. In that sense, what they are going to do, they are trying to employ their resources in most efficient and effective way. The aim is to maximize the factor income. අරමුණ එයාලගේ සාධක ආදායම ඉහළ තලයක රඳවා ගැනීම, නැත්නම් ඉහළ සාධක ආදායමක් ලබා ගැනීම. එහෙමනම් ඒගොල්ලෝ මොකද කරන්නේ? ඉතාමත් කාර්යක්ෂම සහ ඵලදායී ක්‍රමයකට තමන්ගේ තියෙන සම්පත් යොදවා ගන්න වෙනවා. මේ සම්පත් යොදවා ගැනීම, this sort of deployment of the resources finally leads to specialization in occupation. අපි කියනවා මේකෙන් විශේෂීකරණයට මේගොල්ලෝ තල්ලු වෙනවා, නැත්නම් මේක හේතු වෙනවා කිසියම් විශේෂීකරණයක්. මේක හඳුන්වනවා අවසානයේදී division of labor. ශ්‍රම විභජනය, division of labor. Right? This is the basis of domestic trade. This is also similar to the foreign trade. In domestic trade, here we concern about the individual. When you are going to discuss about the basis of international trade, we have to concern about the nations, different nations. For an example, the Sri Lanka, India, China, America, then Japan, different countries. They have in concerning the resource endowment, if you go to Middle East countries, their resource endowment, they are highly rich on oil resource. When you are going to Russia, they are highly rich in gas and other mineral resources. When you are going to China, they are highly rich in labor.
Yeah.
Right? So different countries, when concerning the different countries, their resource endowment is differ from one to another. What they are trying to do? They do the same like in domestic. They think we have limited resources, but we have to satisfy our needs and wants. As a government, as a country, we have to uplift our living conditions of our people. So they are very keen on resource utilization. That means they think twice when utilizing a particular resource to produce a particular product. Is it clear? Right. Okay. The same thing. Then what they are trying to do? they are trying to apply the most efficient way, most effective way to produce the products that they want. In that sense, in that particular point, they use what? If Middle East people, being a country, the Kuwait government decide to produce the crude oil because they are highly rich in crude oil. They use highly technological process, latest technology, and their cost of production is very low. Because of what? Because of they are trying to specialize the product. You see, uneven international distribution of resources are there. Then various countries tend to specialize in the production of commodities which can produce more efficiently than others. For an example, let's say the Sri Lanka and the Iran. What Sri Lanka produce more effective than the Iran? Sri Lanka can produce very effectively the traditional commercial crops are there: tea, rubber, and coconut. In addition, the garment productions. Those are the things which we can produce more efficiently than Iran. When it's come to Iran, they are highly rich in crude oil or the mineral oils, right? So they are not concerned about the other things. They are trying to specialize in producing
crude
the oil things, the oil productions. That means what? That means what? Not only domestic trade, but also in international trade, the specialization, or in other sense, how specialization is taken place because of the division of labor, right? When it's come to foreign trade, that also similar to us. So what is the basis of international trade? That's also division of labor. This leads to international division of labor. Look at the last sentence of the last bullet of this. You all can easily see that. So you have to keep it in your mind. What is the basis of international trade? That is division of labor. Okay, I'll ask additional question other than this. What is the basis of domestic trade? It's no argument, no doubt. That also what? The division of labor. That is the basis of international trade. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So so far I discussed 2-3 slides. So any questions? So you all can ask. I can wait for a few minutes. Any questions? Darshi is there. Pramod, Akhil, Atik, then Dinakshi. Okay, Sandurika, any questions? Pushpakanti? Okay. So I'm going to discuss the next slide of my topic. Right. I'm go back to my second slide. I'm going back to my second slide. If you look at my second slide, right, that is what that is all about. The theories of international trade. Theories of international trade. Okay, so I'm going to discuss in my learning ladder. I have already discussed the fundamental concepts and fundamental things about what is international trade, where I discuss what is domestic trade, what is international trade, the difference between domestic trade and international trade, then basis of international trade. So my second topic is theories of international trade. I think you might have learned all these things during the A-level period. If my memory is correct, that is coming under the business systems. Can you give me a can you name one theory in international trade? Darshi? Or the Atik? Yes. There are 4 or 5 theories in international trade. But according to our syllabus, according to the HNDA syllabus, so here we are going to discuss very fundamental theories in international trade. That is all about theory of absolute advantage, theory of comparative advantage, right? And if you go through these 2 theories, you will be able to find out answers for following questions. First one, if you go through the absolute advantage theory, if you go through the comparative advantage theory, you will be able to find out the answers of the question number 1. That is, what is the basis for international trade? Right? We have already done. But when you are going through these 2 theories, you will be easily able to understand what is the basis of international trade. Right? Then number 2, what determines the volume and direction? That means what amount of production should be taken place and what sort of international trading activity should be done. That means volume and direction. It enables us to find out the answers to section number 2. And how are the gains from foreign trade? That means what can we get out of foreign trade? Being a nation, as a country, what can we get out of this? That means foreign trade. So please understand all these things in your memory. According to the syllabus, we are going to discuss 2 important theories: theory of absolute advantage and theory of comparative advantage. Right? Theory of, in single term, the theory of absolute advantage means Nirapeksha Vasinyaya. This was introduced by Adam Smith. Have you heard this name, Adam Smith? Yes, father of
Economics.
Right. Then the second theory of comparative advantage. You know, Sapekshata Vasinyaya. This was introduced by David Ricardo. Right. I'll be coming to that theories later, but roughly you have to keep all these things in your mind. Okay. Any questions up to now? Any questions? Pramod, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Any gray area or unclear area up to now?
No, sir.
No, right. Okay. So I'm going to move to the first theory. Theory of, yes, Sajida. Any questions? Okay. Theory of absolute advantage. Very famous and very prominent theory in international trade, introduced by Adam Smith. අපි කියනවා සිංහලෙන් නිරපේක්ෂ වාසි න්‍යාය. Okay, I'll explain this theory with this example. I'll explain this theory with an example. Assume for a while, I'll take 2 countries in the world. Yes, I'll take one Middle East country. That is, yes, Iraq. And I'll take my country as the second country, Sri Lanka. Right. Let's take Sri Lanka. Right. Assume we are our tea, our production of tea is very famous and have a very good reputation, very good name all over the world. Ceylon tea is very famous all over the world. Right? When it's come to Iran or the Iraq, their oil production yes, is very famous all over the world. Right? Then it's no doubt and no argument. We are number one in tea production. We are number one or two in tea production all over the world, throughout the world. I think Iraq or the Iran may be in second or third in oil production all over the world, right? Because they have large number of resources, they have technique, they have sufficient capital, they have labor, right? When compared oil production with other countries other than the Iraq has absolute advantage in producing crude oil. Are you getting my points?
Yes, sir.
Right? Very simple logic behind that. Api kiyenawa Iran, Iraq. ඔවුන් සතුව ඉතා විශාල ඛනිජ තෙල් නිදි ප්‍රමාණයක් පවතී. ඔවුන් ලෝක වෙළඳාමෙන් ලෝක අවශ්‍යතාවෙන් ඉතා විශාල ප්‍රතිශතයක් ඛනිජ තෙල් නිපදවනවා ඉතාමත් නූතන නැත්නම් නවීන තාක්ෂණය යොදමින්. එතකොට මේ තාක්ෂණය යොදාගත්තට පස්සේ ඔවුන්ට පුළුවන් වෙනවා ලෝකයේ අනිකුත් රටවල් අභිබවා ඉතාමත් අවම පිරිවැයකින් අවම සම්පත් නාස්තියකින් අවම සම්පත් නාස්තියකින් මේ භාණ්ඩ නිෂ්පාදනය කරන්න. එතකොට ඉරානයට තියෙන්නේ ඔයිල් නිෂ්පාදනයේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් නිරපේක්ෂ වාසියක්. Can you clear? Are you okay with that? Yes. Then I'll come to our country, the tea production of tea. Sri Lanka has good reputation. Our production has very good taste and very good goodwill. Use latest technology. When compared with the tea production in other countries, Sri Lanka is in a very good position. That means, very simply we can say, අපිට අනෙකුත් රටවල් වලට සාපේක්ෂව තේ නිෂ්පාදනයේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අපිට තියෙනවා බොහොම හොඳ නිරපේක්ෂ වාසියක්, absolute advantage. Okay, so I'm going to discuss all these things. Right. Then what is the absolute advantage says? But it says theory of absolute advantage is the ability to produce good or a service ability to produce good or a service more cheaply. Most important thing is more cheaply than it can be produced elsewhere. If I take my example again, then what about the Iran case? Then according to this theory, according to this definition, according to this logic, Iran has absolute advantage in producing the crude oil. When it comes to Sri Lanka has very good absolute advantage in producing
T.
tea, then it can be produced elsewhere. Right? Is it clear? Okay. You all can identify this theory with example. Okay, I'm going to show you here. Here, the example is there. I'm going to discuss this theory with the help of this particular example. Right, here I use two countries, two productions. Right, I took Germany and Italy. Their production possibilities are shown in second column. Their trade-off ratio or the conversion ratio or the cost the conversion ratio is shown in third column. The countries first column, production possibilities in units second column, and trade-off is shown in third column. Right. If I take the Germany, my first country, if they fully utilize their available resource to produce machine tool, they'll be able to produce 60 units of machine tools. Right. Or if they fully utilize all the resources to produce trucks, the second requirement of them, according to their country, right? They can produce 60 trucks. That means ratio is 1:1. That means if they are going to produce one truck, they have to sacrifice one machine tool. If they are going to produce a machine tool, they have to sacrifice one machine tool. They have to sacrifice one truck. Is it clear? The ratio is 1:1. Right? Then I'll come to my second country, Italy. Very famous country during this period. The corona impact is there, right?
Yeah.
They have the same requirement. They wanted to produce two products, the machine tools and trucks. If they utilize all the resources to produce machine tools,
15.
They can produce 50 units of 15 units of machine tools. 15. 1 5. But they changed their mindset. Then they wanted to produce trucks, not the machine tools. They utilize all the resources to produce trucks, where they can produce 30 units of trucks. That means when they are going to produce one machine tool, when they are going to produce what? One truck, they have to sacrifice what? How much? That means trade ratio is 1:2.
1:2.
1:2. Very, very simple. Right. As we all learn about the absolute advantage, what could you say about which country has absolute advantage in producing machine tools and trucks? In producing machine tools and trucks. මොන රටටද තියෙන්නේ නිරපේක්ෂ වාසි න්‍යාය machine tool නිෂ්පාදනය හා එහෙම නැත්නම් truck නිෂ්පාදනය සම්බන්ධ?
Italy.
Italy. Right. මොකද්ද හසන්ත ඒකට බලපාපු කාරණාව? What is the logic behind that?
Machine tools, 15 machine tools, and
Okay.
truck 30, 1:2 ratio.
Here sacrification ratio is 1 to 2, 1 to 1. Germany has 1 to 1. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔවුන් machine 60ක් හදනවා නම් ඔවුන්ට හදන්න වෙන්නේ trucks වලින් බිඳුවයි. එහෙම නේද?
ඔව් සර්.
ඔවුන් සම්පූර්ණ සම්පත් යොදවනවා නම් trucks විතරක් හදන්න. මොකක්ද? trucks 60ක් ඇතුළේ කියන්නේ එක ඒකකයක් එක machine ඒකකයක් වෙනුවෙන් කැප කරන්න වෙනවා එක trucks ඒකකයක්. 1 to 1 ratio. එහෙම නේද?
Yes.
ඔව් සර්.
ඔව්. right. ඉතාලිය ගත්තොත් එක
එකට දෙකක් කැප
truck
කරන්න.
එකක් හදන්න
Machine
machine tool
tools
කීයක් කැප කරන්න වෙනවද? දෙකක් කැප කරන්න වෙනවනේ.
දෙකක් කැප.
right. එහෙමනම් මම අහන්නේ මේ exam based on this exam what is the country having the absolute advantage in producing machine tools and trucks? රටවල් දෙකක් තියෙනවා ජර්මනිය සහ ඉතාලිය. මේ රටවල් දෙකෙන් මේ භාණ්ඩ සම්බන්ධයෙන් නිරපේක්ෂ වාසි න්‍යාය කාටද තියෙන්නේ? බොහොම පැහැදිලි. It is very clear. It is obvious. Right? Germany has the absolute advantage in producing both machine tools and trucks. නිරපේක්ෂ වාසිය තියෙන කාටද මේ නිෂ්පාදන දෙකම සම්බන්ධයෙන්? ජර්මනියට තියෙනවා මේ නිෂ්පාදන දෙකම සම්බන්ධයෙන් නිරපේක්ෂ වාසියක්. කාට වඩාද?
ඉතාලියට
වඩා. හැබැයි then well right then if you look at the scale has an absolute advantage in the production of both machine tools and trucks. Has absolute advantage. Which country? The Germany has. ඉතාලියට සාපේක්ෂව ඉතාලියයි ජර්මනිය අපිට බොහොම පැහැදිලි මේ භාණ්ඩ දෙක සම්බන්ධයෙන් නිරපේක්ෂ වාසිය තියෙන්නේ ජර්මනියට. එහෙම නේද? right. Okay. Is it clear? So
yes sir.
What it says? What theory of advanced state says? You see, if you look at this first paragraph of this slide, theory of absolute advantage state that there is a trade between two countries can be possible only if both countries have absolute advantage in the production at least one commodity. Right. Very important concept behind this. Very important concept is there. What? Sorry. We are going to here we discuss about the absolute, but I jump to the, after concluding my first theory, so I jump to the comparative advantage. Absolute advantage එකකින් මොකද්ද කියන්නේ? කිසියම් රටකට ජාත්‍යන්තර වෙළඳාම නැත්නම් අන්තර්ජාතික වෙළඳාමේ යෙදෙන්න පුළුවන් පසුබිම තියෙන්නේ මොකක්ද? අදාළ නිෂ්පාදන සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඒ රටට එක නිෂ්පාදනයක්වත් නිරපේක්ෂ වාසියක් තිබ්බොත් විතරයි ජාත්‍යන්තර වෙළඳාමේ නිරත වෙන්න පුළුවන්. කවුද මේ කියන්නේ? Absolute advantage theory according to Adam Smith. ඒ කියන්නේ according to the given example there were two countries, the German and Italy. Yes. Okay, Puta, I'll give a little break for you all. I'll come after 10 minutes.
Okay, sir.
Hello?
Okay.
Okay. I'll come to the same link after 10 minutes because I want to make certain technological adjustment to my data system.
Okay, sir.
Okay. I'll come after 10 minutes. Okay. Good.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay.